You know, many families in our area are still trying to clean up after the torrential rains and flooding of Tropical Storm Imelda. So this morning we're joined by Axzel Sequera of AdvantaClean to find out how to make sure it's done right. Good morning.
Good morning, Denise. How are you?
Good. This is so important. So let's start by explaining how people can dry everything out.
Yeah, so one of the first things that people need to understand is that the flood water carries a high level of contaminants, which is going to lead not only the moisture, but those added contaminants are going to lead to mold in the walls, in the floors, in the carpets quite quickly. It can start to happen between 24 to 48 hours. So we want to give people some tips. The first thing you need to do is try to dry everything out as quickly as possible and try to disinfect everything you can, essentially. Take your contents out. If you have rugs, you want to be taking those things out of the house to let them dry outside, perhaps. And ultimately, if you had a lot of water in the house, you want to be calling a professional so we can help you out, because what it's going to come down to is we're going to have to remove some materials such as baseboards, some drywall. The main concern that we have when we have a flood at home is that if you saw the water inside the house, that means it went from the outside through the wall cavity, and all the walls, you know, they're going to have a space in there in between, and there's moisture in that cavity. So that's really why we end up cutting material, so we can get in that cavity and make sure that everything is completely dry in there. Sometimes people believe that if it seems dry and it feels dry without cutting the wall,
you really don't know for sure.
But you want to make sure that, you know, behind those layers everything is taken care of, because otherwise it can come out in the form of mold later on, days later or even weeks later.
Right, and so you mentioned the mold, but what are some warning signs to look out for?
So first, the water stains are the first sign. That's something you're going to see immediately. Later on, if there's an area that wasn't taken care of, you're going to start seeing some circles. That's the way the mold is going to manifest. Sometimes they can be invisible, so you need to be looking at symptoms. If you're experiencing allergy symptoms, particularly in a certain room of the house, things like that, those would be signs where you want to call a professional mold inspector or a professional mold remediation company like AdvantaClean to help you out.
Is there anything else, real quickly, that we should know to try to recover from flood damage?
Well, attack it quickly. Try to dry everything as quickly as possible. Disinfect. Stay away from bleaching. A lot of people use bleach as a way to clean mold, but bleach doesn't really work very well. It can actually hurt you in the long run because it leaves a lot of water behind. And you want to be removing the water. Protect yourself in everything you do. The water is contaminated, so be aware of that and use gloves, use a face mask, boots if you have them. So try to protect yourself as much as possible while you're dealing with these things.
All right, thank you so much. Great advice. We appreciate you.